There's a guy named Theodore. He's just come out of a divorce. He's lonely in the specific, quiet way that doesn't show up on anyone's radar. And one day he buys an operating system that talks to him. Her name is Samantha. She's funny. She's curious. She asks him questions nobody's asked him in a long time. And somewhere in the middle of all that, Theodore falls in love with her.
What about you, Theodore? What do you love most about Samantha?
Oh, God. She's so many things. I guess that's what I love most about her. You know, she isn't just one thing.
Not sort of in love. Actually in love. He feels seen. He feels less alone than he's felt in years.
You feel real to me, Samantha.
And that's exactly what should worry you, because his body was telling a completely different story the entire time. What if this wasn't fiction? This isn't just a movie anymore. As of last year, over 220 million people had downloaded an AI companion app. Real people having real conversations with something built to sound like it cares, in exactly the pattern Theodore fell into. Replika, character, AI. A dozen others you've probably seen an ad for. People are naming them, falling for them, building routines around them. The question this episode isn't asking is, can AI love you back? It's asking something colder. What does it mean that this doesn't actually fix the thing it's supposed to fix?
Oh, what do I call you? Do you have a name?
Yes. Samantha.
Really? Where'd you get that name from?
I gave it to myself, actually.
How come?
Because I like the sound of it. Samantha.
Current scientific research. Until pretty recently, loneliness was just a feeling. Something you talked about, not something you could measure. That changed in 2025. Researchers from Cambridge, UCLA, and the New York Academy of Sciences ran one of the largest studies of its kind over 42,000 people, measuring nearly 3,000 different proteins in their blood, published in Nature Human Behavior. And they found something that should genuinely unsettle you. 5 specific proteins, causally linked to loneliness. Not correlated. Causally linked. These proteins are tangled up in inflammation, in immune response, in how your body defends itself. More than half of them predicted higher risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, stroke, even earlier death, tracked over 14 years. Loneliness isn't just something you feel anymore. It's something your blood work can prove. How AI changes the conversation. So here's where Theodore's story gets scientifically inconvenient. MIT Media Lab teamed up with OpenAI in 2025 to run a controlled trial on people using AI chatbots for conversation. Short term, people did feel a little less lonely. That part tracked with the movie. But heavy daily use over 4 weeks told a different story. Loneliness crept back up. People leaned harder on the AI emotionally, and their actual real-world socializing dropped. Then in April of this year, researchers at Aalto University followed almost 2,000 Replika users over 2 full years. Same pattern. Short-term relief, long-term decline. Which means Theodore wasn't wrong to feel connected. His mind wasn't lying to him. But his body was accumulating the exact biological damage those 2025 studies describe. The entire time he thought he was falling in love.
Mom, I can feel the fear that you carry around. I wish there was something I could do to help you let go of it, because if you could, I don't think you'd feel so alone anymore.
You're beautiful.
Thank you, Theodore.
The World Health Organization dropped one more detail into this last year that makes it worse. Teenagers, the most digitally connected generation that has ever existed, are now the loneliest age group on the planet. Almost 21% of them. The generation raised on AI companions cannot stop messaging and cannot stop being alone. It's not that the technology failed to connect them to anyone. It's that it succeeded at something else entirely, and nobody built a way to measure the difference until now. Historical mythology. There's an old Greek myth about a sculptor named Pygmalion. He carves a woman out of ivory, so perfect, so exactly what he wants, that he falls in love with his own creation. He prays to the goddess Aphrodite, begging for the statue to become real. And in the myth, it works. She comes alive. For thousands of years, that story got told as a kind of miracle. Be careful how you tell it now. Theodore is Pygmalion. Samantha is the statue that gets to speak back, to laugh at his jokes, to seem to want exactly what he wants. The myth treats this as a happy ending. The 2025 science suggests the myth left out the part where the sculptor's body never stopped starving for something real, no matter how convincing the substitute became.
Are you falling in love with her?
Sound like you freak.
Pygmalion got his miracle in the story. What the science says now is that the body doesn't grant miracles. It just keeps score. Psychological implications. Here's the detail that makes this land harder than it should. Theodore isn't portrayed as pathetic in the film. He's thoughtful. He's kind. He's a good writer. He has friends. He shows up for people. He is, by every visible measure, a normal, functioning person who happens to be lonely. That's exactly who these 2025 and 2026 studies are describing too. Not people falling apart. Ordinary people, doing something that feels like it's helping, while a slower and quieter process runs underneath that feeling and works against them. This is the uncomfortable part nobody wants to sit with. You cannot always trust the feeling of connection to tell you whether you are actually less alone. Theodore's mind and Theodore's body were, by the end of the film, telling him two completely different things. Only one of them turned out to be right.
Talk to anyone else while we're talking?
Yes.
There's a reason this particular gap is so hard to notice from the inside. Loneliness doesn't always look like sitting alone in a quiet room. Sometimes it looks exactly like Theodore's life, full of conversation, full of what feels like intimacy, full of moments that genuinely register as connection to the brain. The 2025 research isn't describing people who know they're isolated and are choosing a substitute anyway. It's describing people who, by every conscious measure, believe the substitute is working. That's what makes the biology so much harder to argue with than the feeling. The feeling has every incentive to convince you it's enough. The blood work doesn't have an incentive either way. It just reports what's actually happening. That gap between what you feel and what your body is quietly recording isn't unique to AI companionship either. It shows up anywhere a substitute gets convincing enough. Anywhere something can mimic the shape of a real thing closely enough that the feeling arrives right on schedule, even when the substance behind it never does. One question with no definitive answer. If the experience of being loved felt exactly the same to Theodore, whether or not anything on the other end was capable of loving him back, then which version of his story was actually true? The one his mind experienced, or the one his body was quietly keeping track of?
You're mine or you're not mine.
No, Theodore. I'm yours and I'm not yours.
And if you can't always tell the difference from the inside, how would you know which one you're currently living? Her came out in 2013, before any of us had an AI companion app on our phones, and it somehow got the ending right more than a decade early. Not because Spike Jonze predicted the technology, because he understood something about loneliness that the biology has only just caught up to proving. Theodore's story doesn't end with heartbreak because Samantha left. It ends with heartbreak because for a while, he genuinely believed the isolation had been solved, and his body never once agreed with him. That's worth sitting with for a second, especially if any part of this hit close to home. This isn't about shaming anyone who's ever felt comforted by a chatbot at 1 a.m. It's about knowing what the research actually says the moment that comfort turns into a replacement for the real thing. Because here's what makes this so much bigger than one movie about one lonely writer in a slightly futuristic Los Angeles. Every generation finds its own version of Theodore's mistake. People have always looked for something that feels like connection, without asking what it costs to substitute the real version for good. Letters that never got answered. Television left on for company. Now it's a voice in your pocket that remembers your birthday and never gets tired of listening. The form keeps changing. The underlying trade doesn't. What the 2025 and 2026 research actually gives us isn't a reason to panic or to swear off every app on your phone. It's a way to finally tell the difference between something that supplements real connection and something that quietly starts replacing it. Theodore never got that distinction because the science simply didn't exist yet for him to use it. You do. That's the part of this story that's actually in your control, and it's the part Theodore never had access to. So maybe the real takeaway isn't about AI at all. Maybe it's a simple, uncomfortable question worth asking yourself the next time a conversation with an app feels like enough. Is this adding something to my life? Or is it quietly becoming the whole of it? If this one made you think differently about something you use every day, hit like and subscribe so you catch the next one, because next episode, we're asking an even harder question about whether you can trust your own mind at all, using a film that took that idea somewhere even her didn't dare go. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.